But I don't know. Like, I've actually not been on the raid scene in a while. I'm kind of curious. I'm interested in trying to get into some raids, but it seems like the community at the moment, as far as like in-game progression and raids and stuff like that go, it seems like the community is very diffuse. It seems like it's there less places that you can get into a guild that's just concentrating on that stuff. Because so many of the guilds now with this, like the add-on, like Apotheosis here, like a lot of the times whenever I'm starting a character new on a server, or even just leveling and questing, I'll get these random auto invites. And you could usually tell it's like an auto invite when not even a minute into creating your character and logging into the game, you're getting spammed for a guild invite. Or even more so, like on this guy, or on this server actually, you'll see I have a priest in this guild. That was actually the first character I made. Where is he? Twisted Void should be in this guild. I think I got Twisted Void up to like level 30, come to think of it. I'm gonna have to find that. Yeah, Twisted Void, 38. So within a few minutes of logging into the game on Twisted Void, I got an invite just randomly from Apotheosis. And I think they usually, nowadays, they come with flavor text, where it's like, hey, are you tired of just trade chat? Do you want to add green chat to your experience? Well, join Apotheosis and we'll give you that extra chat experience, or something like, they'll add like some kind of flavor text, something along the lines of that. Or, are you tired of PvPing by yourself? Are you tired of doing dungeons by yourself? Well, join our guild and we promise to run with you and stuff. And a lot of the times, those type of guilds end up being like throwaway guilds. Like they're actually just that, like I was saying with the first advertisement, where they're just an extra chat on your screen. And that's kind of an unfortunate departure from what guilds used to be. Like, it used to be you joined a guild for a community. Like, you were like-minded individuals with the same focus in the game. Like, you would join a PvP guild, and in a PvP guild you would almost always expect to do battlegrounds together, or when arenas were implemented you would almost always expect to get on a pretty decent arena team that actually took it seriously. But now we very much have a community of I want to say like dilettantes, like we have different communities of people that are jacks of all trades. Like, they do a little bit of PvP, a little bit of mythics, a little bit of raiding, some LFR queuing, and maybe a rated battleground every once in a while. But like, none of them are focused enough to really get good at any one of those things. So you end up just being in a guild that's just kind of like meh, or okay, or not that great at any one of those 12 different things that they all seem to do. And that's a serious departure from the way guilds used to function. It used to be like, you would apply to get into a guild instead of a guild going out of its way to just invite any old buddy that they see. Or it used to be that you ran dungeons, right? Like, and maybe even after the looking for dungeon thing was implemented, but it's a lot harder, I guess, in dungeons, because since you have all this cross-server kind of grouping that happens, a lot of the times you get in dungeons with people that aren't even from the same server as yourself, or the same couple of server cluster as yourself. And that's kind of sad too, because it doesn't matter who you're running with at that point. It's almost like anonymous. So, I mean, you could be conversational and talk to the people and maybe even enjoy running with them. And if you have friends on your BattleNet ID tag list, then you could offer to like add somebody as your real ID friend and then group with them later. But that used to be what the guild's function was. It used to be like, hey, I see you in like the same level range as I am often, and we run the same dungeons often, so why don't you join my guild? And we'll level and progress together. And I think a guild that's created on like that kind of idea, or from that standpoint, is a lot more successful and tight knit and like more of a community than this random spam invite kind of creation method that seems to be. And it's ironic that I'm bringing this up as I quest through Wrath of the Lich King, because if I'm not mistaken, Wrath of the Lich King was the expansion that implemented that system. The system I'm referring to is like the guild perks. So like you can see if you go to perks, your guild achievements, and these are achievement points that have been accrued by people leveling and questing together and progressing in a guild aspect. Like look, here are the blue pants. I've already got these pants, I think. I might grab the cape because the neck's kind of boo-boo, and I just want to make sure that I have that cape variant. But yeah, since guild perks were implemented, you get things like mount up. You get 10% increased movement speed whenever you're out in the world questing. Not in battlegrounds and arenas though. Hasty Hearth, so you get reduced cooldown on your hearth by 15 minutes. So not only do you get incentives for recruiting people to give yourself more guild achievement points and knocking out objectives that give you these perks, but you have incentive as a player to just join any random guild so you can get access to these. Like, I almost always like to join a guild whenever I'm leveling an alt, because it's kind of nice whenever you're dead to be able to run with 10% increased movement speed and resurrect with 50% more health. And it's kind of nice being able to like send mail to other people in your guild and that arrive instantly. And it's kind of nice to have a faster mounted movement speed and a quicker hearth. The mobile banking is less, in my opinion, it's less appealing to have mobile banking because it's just your guild chest. But if you're a coordinated guild, then mobile banking makes a lot of sense. Like, oh, you got like the alchemists that have tab 3, and they only put like the most relevant best mats in the alchemy tab, or they put the guild's raid buffs in the alchemy tab, and maybe there's like a guild alchemist kind of like a team leader that makes sure that everybody gets the potions and the elixirs distributed before raid progression fight or something. So that actually does the guild chest one does kind of make sense for a guild perk, but those other ones like lobby leveling perks and stuff like that, while useful, they're kind of subversive in a sense that it doesn't really create community, because people are incentivized, even if you're not really a cohesive group, to still clump themselves into any old guild so they can get access to those perks so they can level faster. So yeah, I mean, there are other guild achievements like you can actively work on. Most guilds that have ever been worth their salt in their time at some point was a coordinated raid group, or maybe had a coordinated couple of raid teams, and maybe they did a couple of those guild achievements to unlock like the, what is it, the Shadow Ashes of Alar. I forget what that's called. Excuse me. There's Ashes of Alar, right? But there's like a shadow version, and I think it's like if you raided with your guild and you got like specific raid achievements during, I think, Kata, I want to say. I don't know. I'm a little out of my depth on that stuff because I didn't really care at the time, and I still kind of don't care. But there should be things that incentivize the guild to do harder content together, I think. So that's a step kind of in the right direction. But another thing that Wrath the Lich King did that was kind of like, I think it was quickly removed, but back in Wrath you would just jump into any gold guild, because one of the perks was for every quest that any player in the guild completed, a portion, like 5% of that gold reward, went into the guild bank. So you'd often see your guild's guild bank, let's see, have like a storage of gold, which made sense because you get gold for gold repairs. And I still don't know if it works that way. I'm not sure if it still works that way, but like you'd often see a guild of like 500 and something people or whatever the max is, and a huge amount of bank account in that guild. And I think that was mostly for the summoning somebody here, trying to figure out what I need to do. Okay, yeah, he's mad. But yeah, so what you would have then is people would go out of their way to create a guild, and the only reason why they would have the guild was for their own personal bank account. Because a lot of people didn't know this. A lot of people didn't know that quests and like quest completion and progression in the game that was done by everybody in the guild was actually feeding the guild bank. So the guild master would end up being a very rich man who would then use his guild bank, and the people that played the economy in the auction house caught on to that as well. And that's the way a lot of these people got their start in like the gold making was they'd make a trash throwaway bank guild and invite every single lobby noob that joined the game within the first few seconds to their guild. So as them lobies leveled up, you know, they were contributing to the funds. I mean, it's a good idea for like repairs and stuff like that, to give like certain members in your guild, like certain ranks in your guild, access to the repair function. So whenever you go talk to the repair vendor, you could actually, like, since I'm a member of this guild, I get access to like 10 gold worth of repair a day. So then whenever my gear is all crap, I don't have to actually spend my gold on my repairs. I can actually spend the guild's gold on my repairs, because I'm contributing to the guild's funds by being a loyal and faithful member that's leveling in that guild. So I guess in theory, it makes sense to have a function like that, but it ended up being very quickly abused and used in that other way that I described earlier. Which is sad, which is unfortunate, but like some of this stuff like matters in ways that you can't foresee, I guess, whenever you're implementing it into the game. But yeah, I guess my point with all this is I'd very much like to see a guild that's more of a community, less of a green chat, like a green anonymous, like I don't know these other people in my guild, but sometimes I can ask them questions just like I'd ask somebody in the zone or somebody in the dungeon or somebody in trade chat, like how to do something. So I'd like to see more of a, I don't know, like I have no idea, like I don't, what do you guys think? Like what do you think would be something that would be beneficial for the game to implement that would drive more of the community and player base back to like that old cohesion we used to have? I mean, it's amazing that that was even the case to begin with, because if you remember, guilds didn't have perks back then. It was just a way for you to quickly coordinate dungeon runs. Like, I don't really know if they had any other purpose than that. I remember, like, back in vanilla, when I was on my Shadow Priest Arthur, vanilla Shadow Priest, like, you can imagine what my life was like. But in the guild that I was in, I actually joined a guild called, I think it was called Reckoning. And I used to think that was an awesome name, because later on when I made a paladin, like I realized where that name came from, and like Reckoning's a badass pally talent you used to be able to spec into. It's like every time you get hit, there's a chance that on when you get hit that you'd get 5 stacks of a buff called Reckoning. And what those basically were extra attacks on your swing. So you would attack, and then when Reckoning would proc, you get an extra attack, and then you'd attack and get an extra attack, and you do that 5 times. So really quick, you'd be like boom, 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 like nail something down, almost like Wind Fury used to act. But anyways, that Reckoning guild that I used to be in, we would group up randomly. Like I think once a week we had to participate in a guild meeting, And this is back when like Ventrilo and Mumble and TeamSpeak and like these type of communications uh, platforms, kind of like Discord is now. Back then, you used to have to pay for a server. So usually you had somebody in the guild that paid for your Ventrilo server or your TeamSpeak server, so y'all could hop into voice comms and like coordinate during a raid. But there was less of that because you had to pay and you had to actually be doing something that warranted the need for like voice comms. So most guilds, if you do see them have guild meetings nowadays, they'll all just hop in Ventrilo or TeamSpeak, or in this case, like nowadays, most people just use Discord. So you'd hop into Discord for the guild meeting, and like once a week they'd be like, all right guys, so this is what the guild's doing right now. We're progressing in the raids. We need to boost our lobies up so they can help participate in these raids so we can take out the progression boss that we're on in Antorus or whatever. That's the way it works now, but the way it used to work was in this Reckoning Guild, for example, we would all meet in Stormwind, and I forget the name of the tavern, but we would all actually like, and this wasn't an RP guild, like I never knew about RP guilds back then, but we would go to Old Town, or maybe it was the Dwarven district, and there was an inn in Old Town that we would all go and sit in. And we would actually go and physically bring our characters to, or digitally physically, bring our characters to that inn in Old Town. And we'd all take a chair, and like the guild leader would stand up in front of the bar and he would tell everybody like, if I can get your attention, please, everybody look this way. And he would start talking in raid chat because we'd all be in a raid. And people that were talking kind of offline, like outside of raid chat, were allowed to talk in say chat. So like you could just like /s say something, and then y'all would chat out and say chat while he gave us instructions and like told us what we were doing in raid chat. So, and like if he needed to get everybody's attention, like back then you could do the raid warning. You'd type in /rw, look, like everybody pay attention. It would like announce to everybody like something important. And like that used to be how our guild stayed like close as a community. And what was cool about that was like it was completely unnecessary because we had green chat. Like you could just talk in green chat to your guild, right? But I guess the problem with the green chat is you're seeing disembodied text from God knows who. Like you don't really actually see the character that's saying the thing. Like at least now with LVUI you can call out people's specific names, and you can get like for example, Gratz Recluse. So since I typed Recluse's name, whenever he got the achievement Halls of Lightning, it actually highlighted his name in his class color. So that's a little bit more personalization, but like in the Reckoning Guild, in that situation, whenever we were sitting inside of the inn to give our guild meeting and updates and stuff like that, you actually got to put a face or an avatar to the character that you'd always talk to in guild chat. So you'd actually get to know more of the people that you used to play with. And what was really cool about that was like you could see their progression in gear. And like some of them would even have like their RP outfit that they would throw on. And I have no idea what I'm doing here. I need to focus a little bit more. But like you could actually put a name to a face, or a face to a name, at least with that. Throw at a reanimated frost giant. This isn't the right guy. Okay, what am I doing here? Weakened reanimated frost worm slain. Okay, so this guy... Okay, I'm calling one of these down. Alright, my bad. Got a little off track there for a second. Here it is. There we go. So that's going to make him non-elite and pissed off at me. If it ever catches up to him. Boom, there it hit. But now he's like miles away and doesn't care. Damn. Okay. Let me get this guy. But yeah, like that used to be a guild. Like that used to be, whenever I think of a guild, I remember Reckoning. Because we would also do events. We would go out and we would head out to like the Badlands or the Burning Steppes or something. Most of us, I think the Badlands was a good spot because you can get like level 40s involved. And that's usually about like when you knew a character was like gonna be leveled up. Like when they made it past that level 30 range, they started getting to like level 40. You knew that character was, you know, somebody was invested in that character because back in vanilla it used to take a long time to level. And if you put 40 levels into a character, you could be sure that you were planning on dinging him all the way up to 60. But like we'd hit up the Badlands out by Kargath, but we were Alliance back then. And there were some dragons. There were just like these red dragons that would fly around the zone. They were like elites, I think. And the guild master, the guild officers, and like the co-GM, they would all run out there and they would tell people to meet them out there if they were interested in doing something. And we would actually just go kill dragons. Like we weren't looking for drops. We weren't looking for like a quest that was getting completed or anything like that. Like we just wanted to do something together as a guild, so we'd come up with these objectives like this, where we would just make up our own quest almost. And damn, this Spellfinger, whenever these guys aren't dealt with, they tend to wipe your party. But yeah, like that to me used to be like, that was what a guild was. Like a group of people that did shit together. The Shadow Blast. Let's stun this guy. Looks like me and the Rogue are the only ones that really knew about these mechanics. So yeah, I mean, it was quite a bit of a tangent just to say that I think guilds are in a bad way right now and they could use some work. So, give my lay on hands to the Death Knight there. Dispel this poison for myself. We don't need this Purge Walker fighting people. But yeah, I mean, I wish there was a way. I mean, guilds still have the capability and ability to be that, but like most people just join, they want the perks. Like that's really what they join the guild for. And like most of the time guild masters just want like more bodies for their raid. I think Shadow Blast